Friends, Kenneth Waltz is a renowned name among the scholars of international relations. He defines the term superpower through five criteria. These include factors such as population and area, resource endowment, economic potential, political stability, and military strength. According to another scholar named John Mearsheimer, a country that has enough military power to fight an all out war against the most powerful country in the world is called a superpower. As per these definitions, there have many superpowers in history, in which the names of Great Britain, USSR, and America are important. In recent times, China is also being referred to as a future superpower. But what about India? Can we say that India is a superpower, or will India be able to become a superpower in the coming years? In today's video, we will try to find answers to these questions and understand why in 2006 some prominent academicians claimed that India will definitely become a superpower if it utilizes its potential and deals with the challenges it faces. Today, we will figure out the reasons why Clyde V. Prestowitz Jr., counselor to Ronald Reagan, remarked that the 21st century will be an Indian century and argued that India would emerge as the biggest superpower of the 21st century. Let's start the discussion. Friends, upscaling its status in the great power race and international hierarchy, India has risen as a potential superpower. Simply speaking, a country is referred to as potential superpower if it has the potential to become a superpower in the future. Currently, only the USA meets the criteria that are required for a country to become a superpower. Be it military or economy, technology, or culture, USA has expanded its hegemony in all spheres. Through its global military alliances, military might, and a vast network of military bases, USA boasts of its power all over the world. Economically speaking, through its huge influence in the IMF, the World Bank, and the WTO, and several multilateral and bilateral trade agreements, it is also a major economic power. The result of this economic dominance is that today American brands are spread all across the world. America has also been spreading its culture through TV shows, film media, and think tanks for years, due to which America's image in the world is largely positive. Even the field of technology is dominated by America, where companies from Tesla to Intel and from Apple to Nvidia are the dominant global players in their respective fields. Hardly any country can stand before NASA in space technology. But friends, the days of American dominance are probably numbered, and there are many countries which are vigorously vying to become superpowers. The biggest contenders in this race are China, India, the European Union, and Russia, which gained the status of potential superpower in the 1990s. Earlier, even Japan was considered to be a part of this race, but in the 1990s, it was removed from the list due to its aging population and economic stagnation. In this context, let's start the story of India's road to becoming a superpower with a discussion on the economic dimension of power. Friends, along with China's impressive economic growth, India has also increased its overall wealth rapidly. And this has happened especially after the LPG reforms. This led to a shift in world's attention from the economic powerhouses of North America and Europe to Asia. And the idea of Asian century gained prominence to the extent that it was being expected that in the next few decades, Asian countries would dictate international affairs. India got the status of a potential superpower mainly due to its economic rise in 2006, when few prominent media organizations and academics started discussing it. In 2006, Newsweek, The Economist, and International Herald Tribune were at the forefront to lead such discussions. Quoting a 2003 report by Goldman Sachs projects, it was claimed that in next 50 years, India would be the fastest growing of all the major economies of the world due to its massive young workforce. Recall that for the Kenneth Waltz, population is an important dimension of power. Well, the Goldman Sachs report was published in 2003, but its predictions are still pretty much true. In 2021, the IHS Market report predicted that India would leave behind Japan and become Asia's second largest economy and world's third largest economy by 2030. It claims that India's GDP will increase from $2.7 trillion to $8.4 trillion by 2030. In this context, there are factors behind Indian economic growth that needed to be addressed. The most important factor is India's large and rapidly expanding middle class, due to which the demand for consumer goods will remain high and the market will continue to grow. According to IHS Market, India's consumption expenditure will double in 2030 as compared to 2020 from $1.5 trillion to $3 trillion. India's growing consumer market and large industrial base makes it attractive to investors from across the globe. In addition, India's rapid digital transformation will enable e-commerce to rapidly transform the retail consumer market. By 2030, 110 crore Indians will be connected to the internet, which will be more than double of the 50 crore in 2020. Internet accessibility and rapid expansion of 4G and 5G will also boost India's homegrown unicorns. These include online e-commerce platform, Mensa brands, logistics startups, delivery, and fast-growing economic grocer Big Basket, which are some of the important companies whose sales grew more rapidly in the pandemic. Improved ranking in the ease of doing business is also an important reason for increasing FDI in India today. India is a huge market for big tech giants like Facebook and Google, which are constantly on the lookout for expanding their business in various ways, from manufacturing, electronics, and chemicals to services in banking, insurance, asset management, healthcare, and important technology. India's future prospects are positive in every way. That says IHS Market. Well, economic sanction is an important tool of portraying international economic influence. The USA and China are both capable of imposing such sanctions. The USA maintained its economic hegemony due to its dominance in the IMF, World Bank, and WTO, whereas China does the same through its Belt and Road Initiative and lending policies. China is an export-oriented economy with a worldwide demand for its cheap goods, and India has a trade deficit of approximately $50 billion with China, despite all the boycott campaigns against Chinese goods. This shows the world's dependence on China, which can be weaponized in future and can be used as a tool of power projection. From the perspective of its global economic influence, India is surely an important player today. The US and the European countries, for example, rely heavily on India for highly skilled services and professionals. Many Indian origin professionals are today in the top positions of the big tech giants like Google, Facebook, and Apple. Indian professionals are dominating the IMF, the World Bank, and the UN as well. Geeta Gopinath was the chief economist of IMF. Apart from this, there are some potential areas that India can explore. For example, a large pool of young working age population in India will give us an edge in the future. Commercialization of the space sector can also increase India's dominance because the Indian brand has been built around the idea that it makes satellites at the lowest prices in the world. Fareed Zakaria, a well-known scholar of international relations, says India will surpass China if it harnesses the skill of its young population properly. For Zakaria, the existence of a strong democratic political system in India for 75 years is also an important factor, which will provide it with a long-term stability required for an all-round development. Now, let's move on the military power and the global influence. Friends, Germany, Japan, and Italy were also named in the list of economic powers, but these countries can't be given superpower status. The reason for this is that these countries are far behind America and China in the military domain. So, apart from economic might, the military is also important for the superpower status. Talking about India's military might, in March 2021, as per the Ultimate Military Index, China has been ranked as the world's most powerful military force. India was ranked 4th after the US in 2nd place and Russia in 3rd place. This military index shows that India may not be a military superpower yet, but it is definitely in the race to become one with its 4th largest military. India is among the world's largest arms importer, due to which many analysts claim that by 2030, India can also become the 3rd largest military power in the world. Well, military expert Lieutenant General R.R. Shankar writes in Financial Express that today our army is named among the top armies in the world, and it is capable of protecting India's national security from any external threat. However, from the angle of rising superpower, there is still much work left. The first issue is that of defense spending, where India is far behind the USA and China. Defense spending of superpower America is 10 times that of India. And if India has to compete with the US and China, then focus on defense spending is an essential. However, as India's economic power increases, defense spending will also increase in absolute terms. There is also a problem that India's military deployment is mainly focused on regional threats, and internal security is where India's major defense spending is utilized. This shifts the focus of India's forces from external power projection to internal issues, while external power projection is considered critical for superpower status. Furthermore, warfare today is not limited to conventional military such as tanks, fighter jets, and warships. For the past several years, countries like China have been equipping their military with disruptive technologies such as artificial technology, hypersonic missiles, etc. In such a situation, India will also have to increase its efforts in the direction so that our military can also boost its capacity in these emerging technologies. Through organizations like ISRO and DRDO, the expenditure on research and development will make this work faster. Military alliances and cultural hegemony are also necessary for superpower status. Talking about the military, be it America or the USSR, they had established many military alliances and military bases around the world to project their power. American bases are still there, stretching from the Pacific to the Indian Ocean. China is a rising superpower and has shifted its stance towards alliances, where it is busy building its ties with Russia, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. Talking about the Chinese military bases, many analysts believe that China has started its efforts towards building military bases and alliances under its debt trap diplomacy. China makes non viable investments in many small countries, traps them under debt, and takes their ports and land on lease. Hambantota of Sri Lanka is the best example of this. Analysts believe that such islands could soon become Chinese military bases. In addition, cultural hegemony gives a global legitimacy to the superpower, where the rest of countries themselves become indirect allies of the superpower by developing a positive attitude towards it. Cultural hegemony is necessary because a superpower cannot dominate the world merely by threat. Threats are used as measures of last resort and only against the countries that rebel against the superpower, whereas cultural hegemony ensures superpower's dominance elsewhere quite smoothly. This cultural hegemony is created through soft power, think tanks, academics, films, media, etc. The USA is the best example of establishing its cultural hegemony around the world, as most countries have a positive outlook towards it. This cultural hegemony was also created by the USSR in the communist blocs, but after its collapse, the communist hegemony weakened. China has not yet been successful in restoring the communist hegemony, and that is why we do not call it a full-fledged superpower. But what about India? Where is India in all these aspects? Friends, in the case of alliances, India has also improved its strategic partnership in the Indian Ocean region through its Diamond of Necklace strategy. Indian investments have grown from Sabang in Indonesia to Chabahar in Iran, and from Seychelles to Trincomalee in Sri Lanka. In some of these, India has also gained access to its naval ships. India already has an advantage in terms of cultural hegemony. India boasts of a historical civilization whose links range from Asia to the Caribbean. Due to Buddhism and Hinduism, India's soft power is spread from Southeast Asia to Japan. India has the largest number of NRIs and the people of Indian origin who have migrated not only to America and Europe but are spread from Fiji in the Pacific to South America. This large pool of people of Indian origin is a major source of India's soft power, which makes its global image positive. Friends, famous scholar John Mearsheimer considers territory as an important dimension of power. There are advantages to having a large area. Large area gives a strategic edge to the superpower. For example, America is spread in both the Atlantic and the Pacific due to its large territory, and thus it extends its presence from Europe to Asia. Apart from this, America also maintains its dominance with its island and military bases that are spread across the world. Large territorial area gives it a strategic edge even in a battle. It also increases the overall strength of a country by providing it with necessary minerals and resources. India is the seventh largest country in the world with an area of 32 lakh square kilometers. Apart from that, it is considered the second most powerful country in the Indo Pacific after China. India also has a strategic advantage due to Andaman and Nicobar's proximity to the crucial choke point Strait of Malacca. If during the war India plans to put blockades here, then the Chinese economy might get paralyzed. All these factors give an edge to India, due to which it has the potential to become a future superpower. Well, the truth is that India is still far away from becoming a superpower. Even today, our state is weak in social indicators and human development. Poverty and income inequality are also major challenges. There is a large young population, but it lacks the required skills due to brain drain. Techies leave India and take citizenship abroad. India has to innovate in the military domain so that it can become a military superpower that can afford an external power projection without any hesitation. Allies are also vital because India has lost a credible ally in South Asia since Afghanistan fell into the hands of Taliban. Apart from this, it's also important for India to tweak its foreign policy and focus on its long term interest. Permanent seat in UNSC will also increase India's capacity, for which smart use of diplomatic skills is essential. So, my friends, this was an analysis for India to become a superpower. What's your thought on this? Please do comment below. We'll meet you all in the next video. Till then, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.